You don't have to live with pain or chronic neuro issues any longer. In this podcast, you will learn how to stabilize your brain, body, and biochemistry for the rest of your life. I'm Dr. Teams, and this is the NeuroReset Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the NeuroReset Podcast. I've got some very special guests for us today. We have Darren and Jason from XTI. I'm not going to do it justice, really talking about what the heck you guys are bringing to the market, but I can't tell you how excited I am. What you guys can see here is a couple of cool things, light therapy, that they've been in the works for quite a while, and it's now really coming to human consumption. And so far, it's just incredible stuff that I'm hearing about. So I'm just really excited to have you guys on today, and thank you for making the trip down. That's amazing. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us. Absolutely.
So who's who?
I'm Jason Sunick, co-founder and COO.
Darren Sunick, president and CEO.
Right on. So what do you guys co-founder and COO and CEO of? Tell me about this new company.
Company is XTI Technologies, also known as Zyant Technologies.
Okay.
We've rebranded recently.
Awesome.
And the idea actually came from Darren, and this is an idea that he's had for a very long period of time. But until about 2009, technology just didn't exist in order to pulse lights the way that we are. Mm-hmm. As you can see, the lights here in the room looks like they're not pulsing, but they're actually pulsing extremely quickly. Microseconds and nanoseconds, and they're actually only on 9% of the time. They're off 91% of the time. Yeah. You just can't tell by looking.
And how different is that from just that comment right there? How different is that from almost every other light device?
So I'm going to take one step even further back from that and really kind of talk about the reason for the technology to start with. And we started off with plants. Then we moved on to poultry, then we moved on to dairy cattle, then beef cattle, on into performance equine. We've lit a lot of race horses, rodeo horses, and the next iteration was very obvious in the results that we were seeing in those performance animals that this could be beneficial to humans. And to talk about the human benefits, I think it's really important that we look at evolution of humanity, millions of years. And we have this tiny sliver of time over here on the right, which is electricity. And then you consider the fact that evolution has programmed us to wake up with the sunrise. We get near red, far red light, get blue during the middle of the day, and then a sunset. And that's your cue to go to sleep, because unless you had a candle to read a book, there really wasn't much else to do after the sunset. Now we do exactly the opposite. We spend 92% of our lives indoors under white lights, which are completely devoid of that signaling information that we need. And then we add insult to injury by putting a cell phone or a computer screen or a TV screen
Netflix,
in front of us.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why we don't sleep well. If we take one of our high dollar light meters and put that in front of just any one of those devices that we just talked about, the predominant color that's coming off of that is blue. So we're signaling to our brains that it's time to be awake and working out in the field as opposed to actually going to sleep.
Right.
And then we wonder why all of these different neurological diseases and inflammatory diseases have increased exponentially over the last 30 years. And I would contend what has changed more over the last 30 years than anything? How much time we spend indoors and how much time we spend in front of a screen. And so this technology we call PAWS. It's Pulsed Alternating Wavelength System. And the easiest way to describe that is if I shine a bright red light at you, goes into your eye, hits the chromophores in the retina of your eye. That chromophore is the molecule that takes light or photons and transfers that signal into electrons to go down the optic nerve, goes back to the vision center of the brain, and you say, hey, I saw a red light right there. We all know if that red light that I shine at you is very bright, or you look at it long enough and you look away, you see a white spot. It's not that you burnt your retina like your mom told you if you looked at the sun for too long.
Right.
It's truly just that all of those chromophores have given off their electrons down the optic nerve. When they do that, they change chemical conformation. And so there's no more information to be shared when you continue to hit with a red light. What this technology does is we're using an alternating wavelength of light or a different energy level to short circuit that natural process of rearming that chromophore so that we instantaneously rearm it with a new electron. White spot goes away, and you once again can shine the red light and have the information go back down that channel. Now imagine that we do that about 250,000 times a second, and it's pretty clear how we're signaling to the brain much more efficiently than a constant on light.
Right.
And that's what I think the rest of the lighting industry, when it comes to anything that's specific, red light therapies, for example, are typically a single wavelength, and they may mimic a day cycle or a time cycle, but they really don't do anything else outside of that.
Yeah. I know, working with laser for so long, I know there's applications to laser that other things can't touch, right? Just monochromatic stuff and, all the I'll call it the jargon, so to speak, and wanted to let people know that not only is there a different delivery system with what you guys have, most everything we have is put glasses on, expose your skin to it, and that's where we're going to take it in, right? I mean, the skin's a huge organ, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, our retina is an organ, and that's one of the few things that we've been basically blasting all day, right, for lack of a better phrase, and then up comes your technology, and it's got the switch. You just turn on, turn off. So there's really almost no way you're going to fatigue that system, right? We find that based on what you told me earlier, that there's might be a time where you exceed how much you actually need to be in front of it, but you don't necessarily you can leave it on. I mean, before I give things away, what's a typical application? What's the kind of minimum dose to be effective?
Darren, do you want to go ahead and handle
that? I think it depends.
We'll talk humans,
but
also I'm really interested to hear about the livestock stuff you guys are saying about 24-hour exposure and whatnot.
Sure. We're recommending 45 minutes for, right now you've got the Lumen Sleep and Recovery lamp and the Performance lamp, which is blue. We find 45 minutes is enough to see the typical results we're looking for. We have people that are under both lights for extended period of time, blue lights most of the day and then multi-hours at night. We're finding is the more you use it, the better the effects are.
Very cool. Now, and again, something that we talked about, we want to try to mimic this day-night cycle of light, correct? So what we know about light is blue tends to be a little more activating, so to speak, and red, and I'm just kind of keeping it simple for the listeners or the watchers. So red is going to be more for a calming sleep recovery, like you said, and we want to turn that on roughly what time of day?
I think it depends on the use case. If you're truly using the light for sleep, then we recommend 45 minutes before you actually plan to go to sleep.
Okay.
Some people leave the light on all night. If you're not bothered by a light in the room, some people really like having the light on all night. If they do wake up for some reason, they find it easier to fall back asleep. So some of this comes down to personal preference in terms of anything outside of that 45 minutes right before you go to sleep. But at a minimum, that's what we recommend for the recovery light.
Now, the blue light, what are we using this for? Right? So a lot of people, and I'm bringing this up because a lot of people say we want to eliminate all blue light, right? Yep. Blue light's bad. It's the worst thing on the planet, right? Blue light blockers this. Put the orange screen on your phone so you don't get any blue light. Well, can you guys debunk some of that or fill me in a little bit?
For one, it's kind of hard to see here, but there's not, it comes off as a hue of blue, but actually there's greens and there's reds and there's multiple colors of blues. There's actually kind of a purplish color in there. There's actually lots of different wavelengths. What Jason was talking about in the chromophores, we're specifically targeting chromophores that are biphasic, meaning that they can react to two different colors. So there's actually a pretty sophisticated dance going on in blue light, where there's quite a few colors going, but we're just seeing it as blue to our eyes. Yeah. And you want to talk about
when even though it is blue, right, what does that do for us during the day, so to speak, right? The difference, you brought it up, white light versus blue light. What is that, sitting in front of a computer compared to this?
Sure.
Or at the same time, what does that do to our brains and our nervous systems?
I think it's important to point out that we are 14 years into the R&D phase of this technology. we wanted to lead a technology with science. Darren and I both have science backgrounds, also own and operate a test measurement automation engineering company. Easy for me to say. And we do a lot of Department of Defense work there. So I think Darren and I are both data driven, and we wanted this technology. We wanted to truly understand it, and we wanted this to be differentiated by the science. And what we found on the blue light through the science that we've done over these last 14 years, we have a number of academic studies from universities like Purdue University, Colorado State University, that have shown that we're increasing bone strength in not completely developed animals. We're increasing bone length, we're increasing diameter, we're increasing bone densities, and we're also increasing lean muscle mass. So that's why we call this the performance light, is that for all of those reasons, it's one more critical element that we need from the sun.
Right. So I know we probably can't coin this. It's probably not FDA cleared at this point, but something like hypothetically osteoporosis or osteopenia. They say, oh, you need to go work out. I mean, that almost puts you
working really well in animals.
Yeah.
We're assuming it probably is working.
Yeah, and that's what I know is a lot of light therapy starts in animals and then moves to humans, but I don't think I've heard of anybody showing this. That's pretty cool. So, I mean, that's just, for anybody out there listening, basically what they're, if you're listening and not watching, we've got 2 large light bulbs that have significant technology inside of them, and they just screw into a regular light socket, right? So you're talking a bedside lamp, something you can transfer out to your living room table, so you can have it right in front of you, and you can literally be in front of the computer even and have this thing off to the side and be potentially increasing your bone density. And we can extrapolate from that. I won't try to put words into your mouth that we can't claim yet, but that's freaking awesome,
Well, and I think the other thing that's important when we talked about the skin being a large organ and then the retina, really the reason why we're targeting the optic nerve is that a portion of the optic nerve splits off under the brain at the optic chiasm and goes into an anatomical feature called the SCN junction, or the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And I think not many people recognize that information from the SCN junction goes to the pituitary, the pineal, and the hypothalamus for hormone creation. And to me, that's really indicative of what nature has created through evolution, where we truly need these different wavelengths of light in order for our bodies to work efficiently.
Yeah. The body doesn't necessarily make mistakes, does it? No. Right? It's
a lot of evolution here.
Exactly, right? So it's like we know the body doesn't make mistakes. It's always either trying to stabilize or reacting to something that's happening, right? We also know that it's designed to heal. It's not designed to feel good all the time. I think the years are probably showing us that. But, when we put the body in a place, let's say light, put it in the proper environment to heal, like we've seen even other therapies and things, we know that there's opportunities for healing all around us, right? But just having this is kind of like a cheat code. It's pretty cool.
Well, you were talking about there's a lot of other, therapy lights out there, but it's topical. I think what really sets us apart, and, we're proud to say we've got, I think, 67, 68 patents on this technology, is it's truly systemic. By going in through the optic nerve or the hypothalamic pathway, or superhighway they call it, and actually, boosting hormones that we tend to be lacking by not having that normal interaction with natural sunlight. Whether it's, decreasing inflammation or reducing anxiety, letting people sleep. I think it's really important. And, again, the biggest change is that we're doing it at a systemic level, not just at a topical level.
So, for the listeners, we talked a little bit about hormones, right? But we also talked about the hypothalamus and things like this. Generally, I like to be very simple in my practice. So, the hypothalamus is this little dangly thing that lets basically releasing or activating hormones, right? It sends hormones to other organs so that they are supposed to do their job, right? Like thyroid releasing hormone down for TSH, right? Then thyroid stimulating hormone, and then so on and so forth. So there's this kind of leapfrog effect. What is the main hormone that we're seeing that's based on light that everybody's always talking about?
I think it's the one that everybody recognizes when it comes to sleep, and that is melatonin.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people take melatonin in an exogenous form or a pill form, and it's truly because our bodies aren't creating that naturally, because we put ourselves into a light malnutrition environment where we're not getting those cues to create that hormone ourselves.
For sure. I know, working with functional medicine and things like that, the brain-gut axis, right, from the physical connections, if the gut's broken down, it's going to be hard to get that melatonin in, right? And so, but what we know is really the major limitation with light therapy is just getting access to it, right? And so with this thing hitting the retina, it's going to hit both sides of the brain, top, bottom, different mechanisms of vision. And does it activate melatonin like right away, or melanin, right?
So we have a number of academic studies where we've shown in animal models, even on a brand new born calf, for example, we've increased melatonin nearly 500% within the first 24 hours versus a calf that's under white light. I think that's a great
natural sunlight,
how quickly this operates.
Wow, that's incredible. So, I'll give a little shout out, so to speak. We got in contact through a kind of a mutual friend, and you guys sent me a light, and I started using it. And what I noticed for myself, right, being a business owner, just kind of burning the candle at both ends often, I wasn't getting very deep sleep. And so started using this. Gosh, it's only been maybe a month. The first thing I noticed was deep sleep. So I started having crazy dreams pretty much right away. And I think I messaged you that. And I was like, okay. And I didn't say a whole lot. I didn't tell my wife a whole lot about it. I said, hey, this is supposed to help us sleep. And so what she's noticing is that she's starting to sleep better. And here's something I didn't tell you guys. It's actually pretty funny. Our dog has been starting to seriously dream and do the little yelps and things in the middle of the night. And so it's been pretty cool. And so looking to get this in the hands of all of my patients is huge, because what do we do when we sleep? That's where we repair, right? Sleep and recovery. And so if people aren't sleeping, there's no way they're going to heal. And my job is to try to get people to heal. And this is going to be part of the process. When you show up as a patient here, you're going to get one of these lights, because it seems to be, so far, the technology makes sense. And I try everything on myself first, but they both have to make sense, right? And so anyway, that's a little kind of a shout out for me. I've got a lot of people I want to introduce you guys to try to get them better performance, better sleep, better recovery. And the best part about this, in my opinion, with everything that's going on, everything that you can get your hands on out there, it's affordable. You can have one of these in every room in the house. I'm just really excited to get you guys here and hear a little bit more about it. What can you share with us about some of the other things that you've heard of how this has been related to potential changes in the nervous system?
Sure. Well, first I'm going to go back to what you just said about how you integrated this into the house and the pet experiencing dreams. That is not an uncommon feedback. In fact, we've heard of pets that only slept on the wife's side of the bed on the floor, actually moving residence to the husband's side if that's where the light happens to be, and then vice versa. So that's an interesting feedback that you brought. The other thing that we found is that we're working with a number of professional and collegiate basketball, football, and hockey teams, and we're rolling the system out to those teams the same way as what you just described, where the strength coaches really want to be the first people to try this and actually see if it works. And what's been very exciting about that is seeing the across-the-board adoption from the strength coaches of these associated teams that we're working with, and then watching that progress on into the teams. I would say that that group of teams at this point is expanding with 1 to 2 teams a week, just through word of mouth. We still have not actively marketed or advertised the product anywhere. So that's really reaffirming for us as well. We have NCAA teams that have been through the entire season with the entire team under the lights, and they're seeing huge benefits.
You want to talk about like the wearable data?
Yeah, so we've actually done a study with an NCAA Division I football team. We outfitted 50 players on the team with a wearable device, and we used that device on the players for a week prior to putting lights on the players. And we measured things like heart rate variability, resting heart rate, resting respirations, and we're seeing double-digit increases in those measurables across all 50 players. Now, keep in mind, it's difficult to get a college-aged male to really adhere to a prescribed lighting that they're supposed to use before they go to bed.
A 21-year-old following the rules, huh?
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
On Friday nights.
But what are you seeing, right?
You know, across the board, whether it's, you know, the Apples or whatever the wearable device is, that everybody that's using the light is seeing a significant increase in REM sleep, which is obviously, you know, super important for their recovery, right? And long-term mental capabilities.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I'm seeing the difference. It's expanding more than just the sleep for me. I can get into that on another podcast. And honestly, I have a feeling we'll probably have you back again and kind of dive a little deeper, right? We're just kind of scratching the surface here. So is there anything you guys want to share that I haven't talked about or asked about? Or, you know, number one, well, go ahead. Is there anything there that you guys want to share?
I think the only thing that I would share is that we feel like we are really scratching the surface of what this potentially can do. As we deploy this out to more and more people, we're seeing indications where possibly we're improving quality of life for people that are dealing with different neurological disorders. Not to claim at all that we're curing those disorders, but if we can help, even if it were as simple as increasing sleep with these different neurological disorders, I think that absolutely is a one-to-one for quality of life in terms of dealing with the issues that come with these different problems.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you know, we can probably the next time we chat, we'll do maybe a little bit more on like how we use this in like a clinical setting, and you know, basically getting in the hands of everybody else as you're getting more into that. Like, hey, everybody needs this now. We know they need it, but you're still gathering your information. You know, you really want to make sure you have the best technology before you just release it to the masses, right? I'm just excited to know about this early on, and to be a part of watching what happens with this. So how are you guys distributing this at this point? Are you going through practitioners, through basically licensed people to sell your product, or is this something that you can get online?
Well, the answer is all of the above.
Okay.
So we're setting up alliance partnerships with different everything from chiropractic to companies like yourself to physical therapists. Honestly, we've had some audiologists and some dermatologists that are using our lights and selling them, as well as you can go to XTI.us to our website. You can learn a lot more about us. You can look at a lot of plant and animal research, kind of see where the journey went across all the different platforms. But obviously there you can get lamps. On the human side right now, we're selling 3 different versions of it. It's the Performance, which is the blue hue, the Sleep and Recovery, and then we actually have another light that looks very similar to Sleep and Recovery, but we're using it for hair growth.
Okay.
We found along the ways with cattle and poultry that different resonance of different lighting definitely completely changed the plumage on a bird or the amount of hair on a horse or a cow, and then we're able to derive that into a human product, and
right on.
We're having some pretty neat and exciting. Awesome. And even myself, I've filled in the hair quite a bit in the last year. So
it all started for self-need, right? That's the way this all started. So we've got blue.
Brother, I do have before and after.
Of course you do. Of course you do. So blue is performance, right? This is kind of designed to get us up and move and get our brain functioning better during the day. Red is more for sleep and recovery. And what was the other?
It's a hair growth.
Hair growth is what color?
It's going to be red too.
Red too. Okay, so make sure you're getting the right one as you pop on their website, xti.us. And then there's the lamps that you guys use. There's some links on there that you can that are a little bit bigger around the base, so you can actually screw this bulb in. Because if you guys can't see it, it's a little bit bigger than a typical light bulb. Yeah, I mean, guys, like I said, we could talk about this for days. There's just a lot we can't talk about yet, especially on the side of claims, because you guys have told me what you've been able to achieve, or at least have seen pretty consistently, and I'm really excited about that. I'm just happy for you guys that you stuck to it for so long, and it's come to fruition, and it's just awesome. Like, I tell everybody about this technology. So thank you guys for being here. I'll have you on again anytime. Open house coming in January here. Introduce you to the new doctor. Oh, I'm spilling the beans. But thanks again. This is the NeuroReset Podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.